بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Apologies for the slight delay. When you're multi-streaming, sometimes you get problems. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. This is a long verse from chapter 33, Surah Ahzab, or the Alloys, and it's part of verse 5. وَلَيْسَ عَلَيْكُمْ جُنَاحٌ فِيمَا أَخْطَأْتُمْ بِهِ وَلَكِنْ مَا تَعَمَّدَتْ قُلُوبُكُمْ وَكَانَ اللَّهُ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. And there is no blame on you in that wherein you make a mistake. but you are answerable for that which your hearts propose. And Allah is ever forgiving, merciful. This is said in a particular context, but Allah, Sadaqallahu Aliyul Azim. But these general principles are given in context. That doesn't mean that they don't apply to the rest of our lives. As an explanation of this verse of the Holy Quran, there is a hadith and Ibn Rajab's commentary on Imam Nawawi's 40 hadiths. The first one is, actions are judged according to intentions. Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala narrated that the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, deeds are a result only of the intentions of the actor. And an individual is rewarded only according to that which he intended. So it's intention that's very, very important. If you do something and it's by accident, then you're not going to be rewarded for it. I mean, let's say this is called the niyyah or intention. Niyyah is the Arabic. And some people take it to extremes. And they say, well, you must declare your niyyah for everything. And they say when you stand up for prayer, before you start the prayer, you should, declare your intention that, I, so-and-so, son of so-and-so, I'm standing here for, today my Friday prayers and this and that and so on. But there's no mention of this anywhere in the Hadith or Sunnah. The Holy Prophet didn't do it, and his companions did not do it. But niyyah doesn't just apply to ritual prayers and so on. It applies to everything that you do. Let's take the example of a man who cuts open someone's chest with a knife. So do you think that man should be punished? In ordinary language, it will be grievous bodily harm. If the man dies, it may be manslaughter, it may be murder. But not everyone who does this is punished. The man cutting open your chest, he may be a surgeon. He's cutting open your chest and breaking your ribs and everything to give you a heart bypass so that you may live a normal life, so that your life may be extended. If he didn't do this, you might become bedridden or you might die. Now, even if you die during the operation, the surgeon is not going to be punished, as long as he took reasonable care. As long as, I don't know, he didn't have a hangover from the party he went to the previous night, etc. Because what is the man's intention? His intention is not to harm you. His intention is to cure you, to make your life better, to save your life. But then you see, if you are a soldier and you attack, you're fighting for your country, and you attack a machine gun post of the enemy and you shoot dead 10 people, 10 soldiers, 10 enemy soldiers. This happened during the First World War and Second World War and many other wars. The intention of that soldier is to kill those enemy soldiers. When the armies or that platoon or regiment came back, did they hang these soldiers? Did they put them in prison, etc.? Recently, we had a case of an army soldier who shot dead a 15-year-old Irish boy in Northern Ireland during the Troubles. And that 15-year-old boy's family fought and fought and fought. And eventually, a case was prepared and sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions. And they refused to prosecute the soldier. And that boy's family have now gone to the Court of Appeal to challenge this decision. The point is that although such soldiers deliberately set out to harm and kill people, they're not punished. In fact, they come back and they get Victoria Crosses. We attended the opening ceremony of Horsell Common, and we went there, and there were plenty of Muslims there, Sunni Muslims, Ahl Sunnat wal Jamaat, who were parading with medals on their chests for services in Afghanistan and for services in Iraq. No one takes them to task for anything. But you would argue that, well, there's a battle going on, there's a war going on, and that soldier is fighting to protect his country or his beliefs, or even other soldiers of his country's army. And he needs to kill the enemy soldiers to protect his own. And this is the point that, at the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, when armies would go out to meet in battle, the first thing that would happen is that sort of champions from both armies will go out and fight. And we know this from history, Battle of Badr and Uhud, and even later on, battles against Romans and so on. And of course, the intention of the soldier who went out was to kill the other person. But because he was doing it to protect, to defend his community which was under attack and his belief, no blame attaches to it. Again, it goes back to what? Intention. That person is not killing another human being because they hate them. They're not killing them for some material advantage. If a person grabs someone in the middle of the night in a dark street, pulls a knife out and says, "Give me your wallet," and the person doesn't do it and gets stabbed, the stabber, they look for the stabber They'll charge him with GBH or murder or not manslaughter, murder, and put him in prison for 25 years because he harmed another human being purely for gain. That was his intention. The soldier's intention is to protect something. The surgeon's intention is to protect something. Here there is no protection. Here what you have is simply murder for worldly gain. And the interesting thing is that the hadith I read out to you, it doesn't use the word Muslim. The Holy Prophet said that deeds are the result of an individual's intention. He didn't say a Muslim's intention. And a Muslim will be rewarded only according to what he intends. But an individual. So that means that this applies to everyone. All religions, not just Muslims. So, if a person, he knows about Islam, he hears about Islam, but he does not embrace Islam, the question will be, why did he not embrace Islam? And he will say, well, I looked around and the behavior of Muslims was very bad. All books say, do good things, but I wanted to see whether people who are born in this religion actually act upon those teachings. Does this book inspire them to do good things? Or is it just sort of wishful thinking written in a book? And that's why I didn't embrace Islam. It may be that that person is forgiven by Allah. And it may be that those Muslims whose actions caused him to veer away from embracing Islam are the ones who are punished. Because of course this man's intention was that if the Holy Quran, this person is a born Muslim, why didn't the Holy Quran inspire him to do all these good things that I'm being told I'll be inspired to do if I embrace Islam? So people who will be punished will be those examples who led him astray. Similarly, if a person embraces Islam and he does so for some worldly benefit, in the West there are lots of men and women who embrace Islam. Why? Simply to marry a Muslim. They don't know much about Islam. They make no effort to learn about Islam. Simply for some benefit, for some gain. They want to marry someone and they embrace Islam. Or some other worldly gain, such as Ahl Sunnat wal Jamaat who come to the UK and suddenly Ahmadiyya becomes very attractive to them. Why? Because once they say they're Ahmadis, they can then point to the Pakistani law which says, well, they're apostates and they should be killed. So they say, well, now we can't go back to Pakistan, you have to give us political asylum. Do you think God will reward them for this cowardly act? They did it simply to gain some benefit. How far is that from the example of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions, who used to take upon their shoulders all manner of torture and trouble and problems and so on, just to do the right thing. We've just had Hajj, and people make so much effort to go to Hajj because it's one of the fundamental duties of a Muslim. But what do? All through their lives, they lie and they cheat and they deceive and they misbehave and they don't feed the poor and they treat their servants poorly. Why? Oh, that's okay. A year before I die, 2 years before I die, I'll go to Hajj and all my sins will be forgiven. No, they won't. That's the bad news for you. Because your intention was throughout your life to do the wrong thing and then get forgiveness simply by performing the Hajj. The question God will ask them is, why didn't you do the right thing in the first place? You take the example of Asian and African countries where an 8-year-old boy has to go out to work to earn a living to support his family. And if he gets something wrong, he's beaten by the employer. God will ask him, ask the master, did you not know that he was 8 years old? Did you not know that you were being cruel? Did you not know that this 8-year-old cannot do this job? There are factories in some developing countries where 8-year-olds are employed and they have to work 10 or 12 hours a day. Such as, when handmade carpets, the more knots you have per inch, the more valuable the carpet. And these children, 8 years old, 9 years old, they have tiny fingers. And they can get more knots in 1 inch, increasing the value of the carpet they're weaving. You think you subject children to this for years and years and years, and 50 years later, towards the end of your life, you'll go to Hajj, and God will forgive that torture that you inflicted on these poor innocent children. Do you think, as they do in Pakistan, you spend 100 million rupees on your son's or your daughter's wedding rather than use the same amount of money for some benefit for the poor? You could have educated so many people, put them through school and college, build a factory, give them jobs, and make that into a charitable institution. And then having done that, you'll go to Makkah, you'll take a video of the wedding and show God and say, look, what a wonderful wedding it was. And he will forgive you for arranging the best wedding. No, it doesn't work like that. What it is throughout your life, you try your best to do the right thing. You do not deliberately set out to do the wrong thing and say, oh, I'll just go to Hajj and get forgiveness. You do your best to do the right thing, whatever the circumstances. Then when you go to Hajj, you ask for forgiveness for what? Or maybe you failed. Because you're a human being. And despite your efforts, you might have failed. And you pray to God and you say, I'm human, I'm weak, I'm frail, but I tried. I did my best. Please forgive my frailty. Please forgive my weakness. And it is at that point that God will say, okay, you tried. And because you failed, you now come to Hajj and you're asking for my forgiveness. And I will forgive. Because you forgave those who harmed you or did something wrong against you. Because you did that, now that you come and ask me for forgiveness, I will forgive you. There is a verse in the Holy Quran, and I end with that. I didn't note the Arabic, which says, throughout your life, prepare for Hajj. What do people do as soon as they get a job? They open a bank account and say, Shahid Aziz Hajj account, and start putting £10 a month or £10 a week into that. That verse of the Holy Quran says, throughout your life, prepare for Hajj. And I'm preparing for Hajj. Yes, that's one aspect. But what it means is, throughout your life, conduct your affairs, thinking that one day you will go to Hajj and God will ask you to account for your deeds. That is also preparing for Hajj. But we forget that. And we just have this account into which we keep putting money, hoping that we'll have enough one day to go to Hajj. It brings to mind, and I end with this, the hadith of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, where he said, a time will come when Muslims will be a perfect reflection of the Jews. Why did he say that? He said that because Jews also stressed the ritual and showing off, being very pious and holy and having long beards and the head properly covered and all this kind of thing, rather than actually living up to the spirit and intention of what those rituals are meant to teach us. بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعنا وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم إنه تعالى جواد كريم ملك رؤوف رحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واجعلنا منهم واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعلنا منهم عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم دينكم ولي دين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط مستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده ربنا. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. الله أكبر ولله الحمد. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. الله أكبر ولله الحمد. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. الله أكبر ولله الحمد. Thank you very much for joining us for today's service. I take my leave of you with the prayer that may Allah keep the whole of humanity under His protection and free from harm, and solve whatever problem any individual is having, regardless of his religion or sect or color or creed or nationality. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and goodbye.